What's up, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Shane Wilson, and I know it's been a little while since I've been here on YouTube, like genuinely months. But maybe if you somehow only watch my YouTube videos, I would tell you there's some other ways if you can keep up with me. You can go visit my blog, showtimewshane.com, linked down below. I do post there several times a week, at least once a week, but usually several times a week. And I'm also pretty active on TikTok, also linked below. So yeah, drop me some follows there if you want to, or check out the blog. But yeah, it's been a little while since I've done a YouTube video just because life is busy. I have a now toddler son who keeps me busy to where it's very rare that I have 15 minutes that I want to give up to come and record a YouTube video, and then some more time to edit said video, where I'm taken away from my son and my wife. But my wife's gone, my son's asleep, so it's time to record a YouTube video, I guess. This is going to be episode 21 in a series that I've done here on the channel. That would have been the last video that I put out about 3 months ago, was also part of this series. And this is going to be where I talk to someone in my life. I have them send me their top 10 favorite movies, and then I watch those movies, review them, and rate them out of 10 to get a total score out of 100. And this time, I will be doing the movies of my boss, Mike Rusnak. So, well, I say that. He's really actually technically not my boss anymore, so that means I can give him bad scores on these movies. But now I guess we're just coworkers. He's not my boss because I got promoted. But, you know, he still has some power over me, so I guess I should be nice with these reviews. But no, Mike and I, we've worked together now for about a year and a half. So other than my wife and my son, there's no one that I talk to more, so I figured it makes sense to watch Mike's top 10 favorite movies. So he sent me the list. He got it together. I watched them. And yeah, he also sent me several honorable mentions just because he was thinking about it. So he sent me some more. There were 4 honorable mentions that were previously mentioned elsewhere on this list. We have Arthur, which was on my mother-in-law Renee's list. We have Gran Torino, which was on my father-in-law JJ's list. We have The Hangover, which was on my wife Destiny's list. And we have Young Frankenstein, which was on my good friend Kyle's list. He also had some Christmas movies that were on there, but he didn't make the cut. The Holiday, which has also previously appeared, Home Alone and Home Alone 2, and Christmas Shoes, which, you know, just a good crier there. And then some other movies that were honorable mentions were Sideways, The Mirror Has Two Faces, Mrs. Doubtfire, Sleepless in Seattle, Life is a House, and Walk the Line. I actually watched most of these just for fun. The ones that I haven't watched yet of the honorable mentions, I went ahead and added to my watch list, and I will watch. I just, haven't necessarily got the chance to yet. So now we'll get into his top 10 here, and we'll start with some of the movies that have been featured previously on the list. There's going to be 4 of the 10 that have already been featured on other lists, starting with On Golden Pond, which is on my sister-in-law Maddie's list. On Golden Pond is so good. First, the 2 lead performances from Henry Fonda and from Katharine Hepburn are so good. I think it's 2 of the best, and I mean this like in a nice way, like old people performances where they're just playing real, authentic, elderly people that you would meet. Norman Thayer Jr., he's a little grumpy. He's a little bit of a grumpy old man, but he's just really just a sweet guy. That's, he needed a connection. And the Doug McKeon's performance as Billy is one of the best child acting jobs, I think, in any movie. I think the chemistry between the 2 leads is great. They seem genuinely like a couple that's been married and together for years. And their chemistry between Jane Fonda is great. Makes sense that Jane Fonda and Henry Fonda would have that dynamic, because obviously I believe they based part of their performances kind of on their real life estrangement there, and this movie, if I read everything I read correctly, kind of helped bring them back together, so that's pretty cool too. It's really well-aged movie. It's aged really well over time. It still holds up almost 45 years later. Also, I'm going to say it because we're all thinking it, and Jane Fonda is so hot in this movie. I'm just being real. She is. Anyways, I would give this a 9 out of 10. Next, I'm moving on to You've Got Mail, which is on my sister-in-law Olivia's list. I think this is one of those films that's just synonymous with its genre, with the rom-com genre. I'll admit I don't love this movie. Like, to me, I think it's good. I think it's a good movie, and I would happily watch it. But it's not like, to me, it's not in like the top tier upper echelon of rom-coms. I think it has a very solid rom-com premise. I think the ending is really strong. But the one thing that really carries it for me, if you know me at all, is Tom Hanks. Forrest Gump is my favorite movie of all time. I looked up because I have a Forrest Gump like poster thing that my wife got me right there that she let me hang it in the living room. I know, right? That's how much I love Forrest Gump. Is my wife let me hang something Forrest Gump in our living room, right? But I love Tom Hanks, so him being in a movie is instantly going to make it better in my book. I don't think that I would ever be able to give a Tom Hanks movie a bad score. He and Meg Ryan do mesh well. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is about this movie that keeps it from moving up, because it has kind of the right pieces. I just feel like, I don't know. Maybe it's like I don't know if it's not the brand of humor. That's not what it is. Because honestly, I wouldn't even say this is really a rom-com. I think it's more of like a rom-dramedy. But anyways, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. So not a bad score, just not like a super high upper echelon score. Then moving on, we have The Godfather, which is on one of my best friend Marley's list. Now, The Godfather, I mean, so The Dark Knight has been featured several times. The Godfather has been featured several times, and I will fully admit that it is one of those movies I struggle to talk about, because I'm like, what can I say about The Godfather that no one else has ever said before? Which maybe these things that I've said about these other movies, that's the case on all of them, but this one especially, everyone's talked about The Godfather. Everyone's seen The Godfather. If you haven't, that's pretty, I don't know, good for you, I guess, or maybe bad for you. I don't know. Anyways, it is a brilliant film. It's truly like a spectacle of a movie. Duh. But it's kind of hard to talk about because everyone that has an opinion on it already does. You know, the people that think it's the best movie ever made, they already think that. The people that have it as one of their favorite movies of all time, they already do. And then some people are going to say, oh, it's overrated. Oh, it's blah, 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 blah. Those people are going to think that, right? And they have a very vehement opinion of however they feel. I think it's a stunningly well-made movie, obviously. So influential, obviously. But it's just not my type of movie personally. I need to respond. My wife just texted me, how's it going? I need to text her and let her know that Ryder's asleep, because otherwise she's going to be stressed out. But it's not my type of movie personally. I think that really just comes down to the genre. I don't love like the crime genre, though I will admit that it's one of the best crime movies. I specifically don't really like gangster movies that much. Again, I think it's like one of the best gangster movies. But with all that being said, I mean, it's still The Godfather, right? It's still so good. It has all-time great performances, an all-time great screenplay, all-time great directing, solid all-around filmmaking, and 8 out of 10 is what I'm going to give The Godfather. Next up, we have The Notebook, this is the third appearance of The Notebook. It was on my mom and Blake. I don't know how to describe Blake sometimes. He's my wife's mom's cousin's daughter's husband, but we'll just say my cousin, or my wife's cousin Blake, who's my wife and I are very close with. The Notebook was on his list. That's what I'm trying to get at. Having this after The Godfather with spoilers, a score that is going to be slightly higher, is probably a pretty insane take. But I think this is one of the best romance movies there is. I love this movie. I always talk about this with Destiny because she does not like this movie because she says it glorifies cheating and whatnot, which is true. But to me, it's like the lead couple, they're so incredibly toxic, mainly in their younger years, that it's like, yes, like I'm not looking at them and being like, that is a couple that I aspire to be. And I think if you are, like when they're older, yes, that's sweet. But when they're young, it's like they're so toxic. But it's, it's just a movie. I don't think the main characters are meant to be your role models. I think there are some movies like that, but this one is not one of them. And similar to Tom Hanks, anything that Ryan Gosling is in, instantly going to be boosted up for me. I think he's one of the most charismatic actors to ever appear on the big screen. Rachel McAdams and him have fantastic chemistry. Shout out to James Marsden, who's always typecast like in several movies. Like I can think of 3 off the top of my head that he's just a good guy who gets screwed over, right? The ending makes me ugly cry. I think it's so incredibly sweet. 8.5 out of 10 for The Notebook. Next up we have Jaws, which I am shocked that this is somehow the first appearance of Jaws in this series. Obviously, brilliant movie. It's obviously one of the most popular movies ever. At one point, it was the highest grossing movie ever. The film is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Mike and I have talked about it several times. I know how much he loves Jaws. He loves sharks. His grandson loves sharks. They love sharks together. I think that's awesome. It's so sweet. So I know how much he loves Jaws. I also really love Jaws. I already have tickets to go see it in IMAX in a couple weeks for the 50th anniversary re-release, and I'm so excited because I've never seen Jaws on a big screen, but Mike has told me about his experience when he was a kid, when he went and saw Jaws in the movie theater on the front row, having to look up at it. And I just think that's awesome. I love it when I don't think you have to have a story behind why you love a movie, but I love it when someone loves a movie and they have a story behind it, because I think it's okay. I don't think you have to think like, man, that movie was the best movie ever for me to love it. I think it's like, if you have positive feelings and positive memories associated with it, that's enough. You can just enjoy it and have cool stories and be like, yes, this is one of my favorite movies. But this also does happen to be one of the best movies ever. Genuinely, one of the best films ever. I think it's it's definitely top 5 best film scores. Like, I would hear an argument if I asked someone what's the best film score of all time and they were just like, oh, Jaws. I would be like, fair enough, because it's so iconic. I think John Williams is the best film composer ever, not even close. Hans Zimmer second. Steven Spielberg, I think, is the greatest director of all time. It's just so many things going for it. Great performances, ahead of its time, special effects that it's like, do you look at it now and think like that looks like a real shark? Maybe not, but it works perfectly for the movie still, and it's like it's not going to be distracting. 9.5 out of 10 for Jaws. I think Jaws is fantastic. Next up, we have The Four Seasons, and this is funny. I actually got this list from Mike the day after Destiny and I finished watching the series adaptation on Netflix of this film, so that's just great timing. I actually think I do prefer the Netflix series slightly more, which is going to be for 2 reasons. One, it's a little more modern, and I am I'm a more modern person, so I'm more that's going to be the target audience for that that series than I was for this movie, right? Which is fine. Films can be a product of their time. That's totally okay. Secondly, I think this story, whatever you want to say, is built on relationships, and the series, since it's 4 parts, it's twice as long as the movie. It's able to flesh out those relationships a little more since it has a longer total runtime. But the film, to me, is still a great, very enjoyable watch with great writing, directing, and acting, all from Alan Alda. Good supporting cast. I really liked Carol Burnett and Rita Moreno in this film. They were especially funny, but all the main cast members had really solid chemistry. I'll say, if you've seen this movie and haven't seen the series, I would still recommend watching one or the other or both, because they actually are pretty different, especially when it comes to the ending. And I think the series got renewed for another season. So 7.5 out of 10 for The Four Seasons. Next up, we have Return to Me, which is a little romantic dramedy. It has some comedic elements, but overall it's a pretty, I don't want to say dark movie, but it deals with like more serious things. It's starring David Duchovny, is that how you say his last name? The dude from X-Files, and Minnie Driver, who I'm a big fan of. I really like Good Will Hunting, and I feel like I've watched a ton of movies with Minnie Driver recently. Really, it's probably like 4 or 5, but that feels like a lot. Also, it has Carroll O'Connor in his final film role. It features some solid twists and turns. It's pretty funny. It's a nice rom-com that if you're a fan of the genre, you haven't seen it, it's certainly worth a watch. It gets off to a pretty grim start, and like I said, it deals with some serious things throughout the movie, but it wraps it up nicely at the end, and I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Next up is As Good as It Gets, which is another good romantic dramedy. This one is obviously considered an all-time film. It's won multiple Oscars for both the lead performances of Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt for Best Actor and Actress, respectively. It also features Greg Kinnear in an Oscar-nominated role and is a very, very solid performance. Like, I'm not going to say it's a standout performance because Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt are both fantastic in this movie, but I love Greg Kinnear in this movie too. I think he's very endearing. I appreciate that Jack Nicholson in this movie is very much, he's just a jerk, right? His character. But he has some very real and apparent character growth. And though it's like he's not fully redeemed by the end of the story, but he makes progress. And so it's like, it's not just a complete 180 to where now he's just the best guy in the world and everything is forgiven. He had a long way to go and still has a long way to go, but it's just like, it shows where he was and where he's at. And I just think that's cool. I like, it feels a little more realistic. And so I would give it an 8 out of 10. Then we have The Way We Were, which Mike loves a good romance, a good romantic movie. So this one's a romantic drama, not a dramedy. It's featuring a love story between Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. This film had a ton of depth, so many layers in it. I think it takes on a ton of very interesting topics, covers a lot of ground. I don't want to spoil it. I know the movie came out over 50 years ago, so I think the spoiler warning might have expired, but if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it, but I'll just say I appreciate that the ending goes in another direction, maybe one that you're not expecting or you're used to. It goes in another direction, but it still has a very succinct and satisfying ending, even if it's not the ending you're wanting. I like it that I don't want to get too much into it. I like it that they don't let Robert Redford's character move past his mistake and like be forgiven. I like that it's just like, nope, that's it, which maybe I just told you how the movie ends. That's okay, whatever. It's a good choice. I think it's well written. The performances are great. Like I said, it has so much going on, and I mean that in a good way. 6.5 out of 10. Finally, we have Mr. Holland's Opus, which, you know, if you've watched this series, I usually save like a surprise for the last entry on the list. This movie, I wasn't necessarily surprised by how good it was. Like, I think it probably got a little higher score than I would have guessed, but the reason it surprised me is it literally made me cry 3 times while I was watching it. 3 separate times I was crying while watching this movie. It's a movie that I really am not sure if it would have had the same impact on me if I was not a dad, which there's a lot of movies like that now that either I haven't seen, or if I've already seen them but rewatching them now as a parent, it's like they hit you completely differently. I think this is Richard Dreyfuss's best performance that I've seen. There's a good chunk of his filmography that I have not seen, but what I've seen, I think this is his best performance. I still really like him in Jaws, though, earlier. I love how the movie, it covers so much time throughout Mr. Holland's life. Honestly, I love the relationship dynamic between him and his son. There's 2 moments that make me cry that have to do with his son, and then the ending of the movie makes me cry. And it honestly just makes me want to cry again talking about it. So if you haven't seen it, it's definitely, I just shook my microphone. That probably was not good for the audio. Did you see that? I just went like this. What is that? That's horrible for the audio. Come on, Shane. But it's definitely one worth watching. I think you can stream it. I think I watched it on Disney Plus, so you can watch it there because you probably have Disney Plus, because most people do. If not, I don't know. Figure out another way to watch it if you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not your boss. But now I'm going to add this up just to be clear, and we'll go back through real quick. So On Golden Pond got a 9. And then let me get this 2 separate tabs so I'm not clicking back and forth. You've Got Mail got a 7. The Godfather got an 8. The Notebook got an 8.5. I'm adding this up as I go just to check my math. Jaws had a solid 9.5. The Four Seasons had a 7.5. And while I'm adding this up, I'll also plug that you can go onto my Letterboxd at ShaneRW717 if you use Letterboxd. And I actually have a list of all the movies that have appeared in this series. I think the list is called Movies That My Friends Like. I know, super creative of me. Anyways, Return to Me, 6.5, as good as it gets. An 8, The Way We Were, a 6.5, and Mr. Holland's Opus, an 8.5, which brings us to a grand total of 79 out of 100. So that's an average of 7.9 out of 10, which is a pretty solid score, almost an 8 out of 10. I love movies, so I usually score movies. My wife says I score movies higher than I should, but that's just because I love movies, and it's going to be really hard for a movie to disappoint me. So 79 out of 100. I don't know what my next YouTube video is going to be or when it's going to be, so I guess you'll see maybe in another 3 months when I upload another YouTube video. But go check out all the things I mentioned earlier, my blog and my TikTok and my podcast if I ever record that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Mike, for putting together this list. I'll see you in the morning at work. Peace.